Welcome to BluTalks.
Okay, it's a pleasure to be here with all of you today at Harvard. Quick question. Who here in the room has kids? Hands up. Keep your hand up if you like them. Okay. Most people's hands remain up. You know, one time I asked this question to a room full of people, the lady in the front row. She had 2 kids. 2 hands up. Okay, then I asked, keep your hand up if you like them. And she did this. Only like 1 kid. But the reason I share this with you is that the topic of today's presentation actually started when I was researching how to become a good father. In 2012, I was about to become a father for the first time, and I started to think about what I would like for this little new human being to be. And I listed off all of my checklist, you know, what traits and attributes and characteristics I wanted this child to have. And then I quickly realized that's a exercise in insanity, because the child that you get is the child that you get, right? But what I started to do then is look at the people in my world who I admired. And I decided if there were some things that I could find amongst these people that could potentially be taught or harnessed into a new little human being, that was something that I would like to spend a little bit of time researching. And what I discovered is that everybody in my world who I admired, sports people, political figures, spiritual figures, my parents, they all demonstrated one key ability, and that's this ability. Doing what you know you should do, even when you don't feel like it. We're in a world where we know what we need to do. There is enough information out there. But the ability to execute the second half of that sentence is the key to success. And it's the key to success in every component of your life. For that reason, this skill is called the master aptitude. If you were to teach somebody one thing, this would be it. Maybe I'm a lazy father, but I chose just this one thing to focus on. And this, for us in this room, it goes by the more commonly known term of willpower. So I started in this sort of journey to look into willpower and figure out what it was and how we might be able to harness it and use it for my children and other things. And in fact, along the way, it's helped me in identifying things in my business and other people's businesses that we can harness and push forward. The first piece of interesting research I came across was the marshmallow test. You may have heard of it. About 50 years ago, a psychologist by the name of Walter Mischel took some kids around preschool age, put them in a room by themselves, and offered them a marshmallow. And he said to them, okay, you can eat this marshmallow right now, or if you can wait for a little while, I'm going to come back with a second marshmallow, and if you have not eaten the first one, you get to eat 2. Can you imagine what these children went through in this time? Now, of course, some did eat the marshmallow and some didn't. Most of them did. And the ones that didn't pretty much ate them. The ones that did it pretty much ate them straight away, or held on like this little guy. My favorite story from this particular exercise was that it was a little girl who ate the middle of the marshmallow and somehow like covered it back up and put it back. And that little girl grew up to become a lawyer. So the beauty of this is that this particular study was conducted about 50 years ago, and then after that, they followed these people throughout their lives. And so for our benefit, we can see what kind of delayed gratification impacts on people's lives. And what they discovered was, at school age, all of these children who were able to refrain from eating that marshmallow did pass standardized academic testing much easier than their counterparts. When they went on to later life, they went into more stabilized relationships. They entered careers and higher levels in their careers than their peers. They were financially better off, and they stayed married for longer. Okay? And so what we can learn from this, though, is that this stuff here, which you think is only innate at age 4 or 5, you think maybe these kids just had it. The beauty is that this stuff can actually be taught. Okay? And so there are 4 proven things that we can do to develop our willpower. 4 physiological things. And they are sleep, meditation, physical exercise, and a healthy diet. And when you look at that, you go, okay, that's good. But then when I first looked at that, I went, hang on, if this gives me willpower, that's great, but I need damn willpower to do these things. Yeah. Right? So the good news is that you do not need to master all of these things at the same time. In fact, it's pretty much this whole concept of choose your biggest domino. what is the biggest domino in your life? If you could just push that one big domino over, that the others would fall down and clear the path. As you sit here before me, I'm sure you know which one of these four is jumping out at you right now. You've probably identified it. And so all you have to do is start with that first one. When I came across this information, I was a new father. So which one of these ones was lacking, do you think? Sleep. You bet you were. Okay. So I used to sleep like a baby until we had a baby. And I was probably sleeping 4 or 5 hours a night, and as such, I wasn't caring about my mental state, my physical state, or whatever I was eating. Whatever I was eating was whatever I could get my hands on, and I would wake up in the morning and drag myself to the desk and get caffeinated and try and get to the end of the day and then sleep another 4 hours. But when we invested some money in a sleep consultant, it was the best money I ever spent in my whole life. For me in my life, and sleep is the cornerstone for everything else in my life. That is my biggest domino. Meditation, we've talked about a lot today in our speeches here today. But the one study that I remember in my research here is that a group of people were given the task of meditating for only 10 minutes a day for a period of 10 weeks. And through an fMRI machine, they were able to measure the impact on their brain. The prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain which controls impulses and future planning, that actually grew in that period of meditation. And they measured the synapses and connections in the brain, and that improved over that period of time. I think right now we're in a world where what used to be just spiritual is now being proven through science. And meditation is clearly one of them. Physical exercise. We all know what we need to do, but we don't for the most part. If I was to tell you there is one time of the day where you are 300% more likely to execute on your intention to exercise, what time of the day would that be?
Morning.
Oh, we all know it. Right. And so if this is yours, if this is your thing, your big domino, you know what you got to do tomorrow morning. Just wake up 5 minutes earlier. And when I say 5 minutes earlier, also what we've come to learn about exercise is that we do not need to run for an hour. In fact, it's been proven that high-intensity interval training for a period of 4 minutes is equivalent to running on a treadmill for 45. So, look it up and don't use the excuse of no time anymore. And the low GI plant-based diet. Well, this is one that also I personally experienced and had some challenges with. So in that same year, when my wife, who's in the room with us today, was pregnant with our first child, on a day that she was going for her ultrasound, she woke up with loss of vision in one of her eyes. And that later led to a diagnosis of multiple sclerosis. And I remember a few months later standing in the hospital holding my newborn child in a little red car seat carrier. And we sat there and we looked around at the other people who were in the Department of Neurology. And these were women not much older than my wife, who were sitting in wheelchairs. And we made the decision that day that we would do whatever we needed to do to avoid that circumstance for us. And some of that involved changing to a significantly restrictive diet, an anti-inflammatory diet, which did wonders for her and for us. Some of that involved giving up alcohol. And you heard in my bio, I'm actually Australian, so they asked for their passport back when they heard I had to give up alcohol. But we all say that, I'm sure that a lot of people in this room believe in moving towards something positive rather than moving away from something negative. But I will say this to you, if you can't find the power in the positive thing to move forward, I don't think there's anything wrong with finding that dark, dark, sad place and running the hell away from it. If that's what you need to move forward, then use it for your own good. Oh, and all of this means nothing unless we're doing it in an environment that is conducive to our intentions. If your intention is to sleep, but you have a TV in your bedroom and your spouse is going to stay up until 1 o'clock every night watching TV, then that's not going to help you. If you want to have a healthy diet, but your pantry and fridge is full of sugary crap, then it's unlikely. So I call this putting the toothpaste on the toothbrush. Anybody have little kids who try and avoid brushing their teeth?
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about. So what do you do with them? So every morning I put the toothpaste on the toothbrush. So we know that if they have not brushed their teeth, it's going to be there, we're going to know, right? So as adults, I think what we need to do is start putting the damn toothpaste on the toothbrush in other aspects of our life. Prepare for success, don't prepare to fail. Oh, this is a great study. This talks about your future self, and the study went like this. They put people into a fMRI machine, and they asked them 3 simple questions. First question, imagine yourself, your current self, and a part of their brain lit up. Then they asked the people to imagine a stranger, and a different part of their brain obviously lit up. The next question was, imagine your future self. And in some people, the current self lit up, the current self up, but in most people, the stranger portion of their brain lit up. So if willpower is about doing the hard things now, foregoing some hard stuff and doing the hard things that are going to benefit our future self, well, why the hell would we do that if we're only benefiting a damn stranger? If what we want to do is succeed in this idea of building willpower, we need to build a very strong link between our current self and our future self. So we know what we're doing and why we're doing it and who we're doing it for. And there's a couple of quick and really easy exercises that you can do to do this. So number 1, 10, 10, 10. These are segments of time. 10 minutes, 10 hours, 10 days. I want you to imagine that I gave you a stack of 5 cheeseburgers and said, eat these cheeseburgers right now, as fast as you can. Okay? How do you think you will feel in 10 minutes from now? Not so great. And if I said to you, here's your choice. Here's 5 cheeseburgers. You can eat all 5 or you can eat 1. What would you do? You would likely make the right choice. You'd probably eat just the 1. Okay? And so for most of us, that's a pretty easy decision. Because we can see and we know who we will be 10 minutes from now if we ate those 5 hamburgers. We know the impact on our life. Right? So that's a pretty simple stretch of time. Okay, so now once we've got there, let's go to 10 hours. Okay? Tomorrow, you have an important meeting. Okay? And you know you should be in bed by, say, 10 o'clock at night. But you just switch on your favorite streaming channel. And you promise yourself you're only going to watch 1. And that ends and the next one starts to load and you've got 4 seconds to decide whether or not you're going to stand up and go to bed or not. Right? You know exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah. And we 10 hours does not seem like a long period of time, but we are failing ourselves in even these small little windows of time. And then the next extension of that would be 10 days and 10 years, 10 months and 10 years. So what I want you to ask yourself is, what can you do in your days now to prepare yourself just for the next 10 minutes? Easy. The next 10 hours, a little harder. But if you can get yourself to 10 hours, you should be able to get yourself to 10 days, and so on, and so on. The next one's 1, 5, and 25. We all, I think in this room, are full of entrepreneurs in this room. And as such, we make plans, 1-year plans, 5-year plans. I think, for the most part, a lot of us think we can achieve so much in 1 year. And sometimes we set ourselves up for a little bit of failure because we try and do so much too early. And so what I've come to learn is that oftentimes we overestimate what we can achieve in 1 year, but we underestimate what we can achieve in 5. And so there are times when you have to go hard, but there are times when a little bit of stretching out of that time frame and giving yourself the space and time to achieve it is actually the better choice. And so for you, make sure that when you're setting your goals, you make them achievable. That number 25, I'd never done this exercise, but a letter from your future self, 25 years out, to yourself today. An extremely powerful exercise, and if you want to make it even more powerful, write that letter to the person in this world that you love the most and give it to them. And tell them what you see for your future, maybe together with them, the things that you've achieved, the people that you've impacted. Write that letter and make it real. Connecting your current self to your future self is a keystone to willpower. This is probably the most important exercise you could do. Failure and forgiveness. Guys, on our path to better sleep, better diet, exercise, meditation, we will fail. We are human. Okay? But what is important to note is that when we fail, we are not failures. We are people who failed in a certain moment in time. Okay? And what's important too is not to then write off the rest of your week and just eat cheeseburgers for the rest of the week. Right? If you miss going to the gym on Monday, it doesn't mean you can't wake up tomorrow and go, Okay? Too many times we slip and we continue to let ourselves slide down the mountain and rip ourselves up along the way. Stop yourself. Get back up. Recalibrate. Tomorrow is a gift of another day when you can start to recalibrate. There was a study done with a group of women in a research study where they were on a diet. They were called in and they were told to eat a donut. And they kind of confusedly ate a donut. And there were individuals, and some of these individuals after the fact were just sort of sent out of the room, and others were given this message. And the message was, you were told to eat this donut, okay? Don't blame yourself. We asked you to eat this donut. It's okay. All right? That was the message. Then, after that, these women were given a bowl of candy, and they were told to eat as much as they wanted. The women that received that message of forgiveness ate 50% less candy. So what do we take from this? It's that if we fail, we must forgive ourselves, because if we forgive ourselves, then we can move on with our lives. We will not let ourselves slip again. We will catch ourselves a little bit early. The easiest way to imagine this is, again, when I started to talk today, I talked about being a parent. Imagine you were your own parent. Sometimes we have to step in the role of being a coach to ourselves. What would we tell our child if they didn't get out of bed to go to the gym that day? Or they ate one bad thing that they shouldn't? It's not that they're a failure. Take that message for yourself. Be your own coach when you need to be. And that brings us to the summary for today. Today, guys, we talked about the master aptitude, willpower. And the fact is that there are 4 physiological things that you can do to impact your willpower. Sleep, meditation, exercise, diet. And overlaying all of that, environment. Set yourself up for success. Put the toothpaste on the toothbrush. Future self, the importance to link who you are now to who you want to be and get very, very clear on that. If you know where you're going, then you're likely to stay on track. Forgiveness, you're going to fail. Just forgive yourself and move on. And most importantly, marshmallows. And I'm going to end with this. There are times in life when it is the right decision to eat the marshmallow, and there are times when we must wait. Willpower simply gives you the choice. Thank you.